All right. Last week's assignment. This is how we work with absolute values. This is going to make, hopefully, it's going to make things a lot easier. Let's take a look at this one right down here. 2x minus 3 is within the absolute value. Minus 4 is outside of the value, and then it equals 3. Let me rewrite that. Actually, I want to make this smaller so I can have something to write on here. All right. Absolute value of 2x minus 3, and then outside the absolute value is minus 4 equals 3. The first thing we need to do is keep the absolute value by itself. So anything that we've got on the outside of the absolute value has to be separated from it, okay? So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to bring this 4 to the other side of the equal sign. And I'm going to set this up as 2x minus 3. And since it's minus 4 here, it comes the other side. It's plus 4. That's an absolute value. Minus 4. I'm having a tough time here. Yeah, I'm having a really tough time here, guys. Equals 7. Okay, I brought it to the other side. And if you notice, all I've got on one side of the equal sign is the absolute value. And in this, now I'm going to break this out into two separate equations. The first one I'm going to break out is going to be my 2x minus 3 equals 7. Just as it reads, but without the absolute value on it. All right? The other way I'm going to break it out is I'm still going to use my 2x minus 3 here, but now instead of a plus 7, I'm going to make it a minus 7. Okay? It's two different ways. I could put the minus on this side in here, but it's easier to put it on the 7 over here. So I'm breaking that out into two separate equations, and now I'm going to solve for it. I'm going to bring my 3 over, 2x, bring my 3 over, equals 10, x equals 5. This absolute value. This is working, this is 1/6. It's working with absolute values. All right, now my other one, notice what happens. I bring my minus 3 over, and now I'm adding 3 on this side, right? So now this equals a minus 4. Then when I divide by 2, it becomes a minus 2. And these would be your two answers then for that equation. If you do it that way, I think it's going to be a little easier to understand. All right, like that. What's that? Pretty easy. Once you do it that way, it makes it easy, doesn't it? All right. And this is what I didn't do with you guys Friday, and I needed to do it. I apologize for it. I did it in a very confusing way last week. So, questions with that? See that, Preston, how we do that? All right. Reese, got it. Brad, understand it, Brad? Mr. Yonner? I didn't want to do that. Turn you off. All right. Let's go back once. What's that? Oh. All right. Well, don't sit there. Don't sit there. I can't. If I go anywhere else, I'll screw around. All right. This side of it, I'm not going to do something like this in here on the test, okay? I'm not going to do something like this. If I do it, I'm going to have you do this portion of it. In other words, let's figure out what the absolute value x over 2 minus 4 is less than or equal to 3. And that's what I'm going to do right now. I want to do that part of it with you so that you here. So you see how to do it. Because that's what I'll have on the test. I won't have you say, okay, show me this step, show me this step, show me this step. It's going to be this. I'm going to give you 1/2, or I'm sorry, x over 2 minus 4. Absolute value is less than or equal to 3. All right. Now I've got my less than in there. I've got a inequality sitting in there. It doesn't change anything right here. All right. We still take this one and go x over 2 minus 4 is less than or equal to 3. It doesn't change anything with that one. But on the next one, it does. All right, because if I'm dropping a negative in there, I have to change that sign around. So the next one over here is going to be x over 2 minus 4. Now I flip this sign so it's greater than or equal to a -3. All right? We have to change that around on an inequality. So then we solve from here. We have x over 2. We subtract the 4 over here, x over 2. And we have minus, so we add it in. I'm sorry, not subtract, add. All right, is less than or equal to 7. Now we can multiply both sides by 2, right? Multiply by 2 here, multiply by 2 here, 2. X equals 7 times 2. Yeah. If you're dividing on one side, multiply on the other. If you're multiplying on one side, divide on the other. So x equals 14. That's one of our answers. Now this one here is 4. It just didn't come across like that. Yeah. Okay, so we have x over 2. We're adding our 4 to the other side, so we're going to plus 4 is greater than or equal to 1. Multiply both sides by 2. X is greater than or equal to 2. So how would this look if we were going to write this out? They did it in this form here. All right, these are my two answers. Oh, this should be less than, not equal to. These are my two answers right here. Okay, those are my two answers. If you give it to me in that form, golden. I'm fine with it. It's okay. To write it out this way takes another step. Because what happens is we're going to do this x over 2. Actually, no, it's going to be x. Excuse me. If you were to write this out the way they're doing it, x would be in the middle. We'd have less than or equal to 14 over here. Okay? But now we'd take the 2 and we'd put it over here. The arrow is pointing at the 2, so this would be less than or equal to here. That's the way they have it. This way. If you give it to me in this form here, it's good. That's all you have to do. If you want to do it the way they come down and do it in here, then it would be like this. Either way is going to work. All right? Just know that we separate. So the key to this one is when we do it with a negative over here, we have to switch the sign. That's the big key. When it's an inequality, we have to switch the sign. Let's do one more inequality, just so you guys kind of get a look at this, what it would be. Let's do the absolute value of 3x minus 2 is greater than or equal to 10. I don't know how this is going to come out. Let's find out. So I think it's going to come out with fractions in it. No, I think it'll come out pretty good, actually. All right. First thing we're going to start off with, we're going to create our two equations from this. First one is going to be 3x minus 2 is greater than or equal to 10. The next one is going to be 3x, good job, yell at me. Go ahead. I know Fletcher will. Not yelling, holy cow. Okay, 3x minus 2 is less than or equal to a negative 10. So let's figure this out. First one, add 2 to both sides. 3x greater than or equal to 12. X is greater than or equal to 4. See how we got that? Reese, you rocking? Cool. Bring our 2 over. 3x is less than or equal to a negative 8. X is less than or equal to a negative 8/3. You don't have to tell me that it's 2 2/3. If you leave it in a fraction as 8/3, that's fine. All right? These would be my answers. If I was to write this out into a long form like this, I'm going to put my 4 over here, because that's the greater of the 2, right? My sign points to the 4. And then over here, notice that my sign here points to the x. And then I'm going to put my negative 8/3 over here. See how it did that? If you don't want to, you don't have to, but this is just showing. Notice how the sign points to the x, right? So I kept the sign pointing to the x, and I put the 8/3 on the other side. Right? You guys get a little better understanding of how this works now? You're golden with this stuff. Katie, rocking it? Preston, you're awake? Cool. I didn't want to hear any snoring today.